Welcome back to the garage. We're going to be doing some brakes today, but just not any brakes. I'll be upgrading my Honda Pilot 2006 brakes from, let me see, I'm good. Maybe good look good for the camera or anything, but gotcha. Well, let's check it out. The front and backs, but we're going with a little from different from stock. Those drilled and slotted. These are the rears. So they're a little bit smaller. But same thing on the other one. Got that hot boy drilled and slotted. Gotta have it. When you're hauling around your family, you want to be able to stop right. You mean stop good. These are the fronts. Look at them Johnnies. This line here ain't that deep, but hey, it'll work. And also got some brake pads, some ceramics. These are the Breers fronts. At least they say they're just ceramics, but I couldn't tell you the difference. But yeah, that's what we're gonna be installing on the Pilot. Should be easy. I'm just gonna be taking off the rotors and putting on the pads. So yeah, let's go get it all set up. Jack up the car. Always use jack stands. Don't be dumb. Don't ever just trust the jack. Jack can fail. It's hydraulic. There's hydraulic failures. Put yourself in jack stands. Alright. But I can't find my jack stands, so I'm just going to use a jack. No, I'm just playing them. I got jack stands. Alright, well, these some heavy son bitches, so I'm going to go jack up the car first. And we'll go from there. The cool thing about these Pilots is they got a lift point right in there, which I'll show you right here. A lift point right there, or a tow hook, but I always lift it from there because that seems the strongest part. I don't know why this is missing a clip, but besides this proper lift point, I'm thinking, you know, it's strong enough to lift the car. I mean, pull a car or get pulled from. Strong enough to lift it from. Now make sure you have a strong enough jack. Sometimes, you know, jacks aren't beefy enough. Car's just gonna laugh at it. Okay, we know it's gonna lift it. So I recommend before you lift the car up all the way, all the wheels off the ground, you do take the wheels off. I mean the lug nuts off, so tires won't spin unless you do that. You miss that step, you're gonna have to have somebody in the passenger driver's side seat hitting the brakes so the tire won't spin. But yeah, I'm gonna get these tires off. 19 millimeter, nothing special. Breaker bar, or the proper tire jack. I mean the tire lug nut tool. But yeah, I'm gonna get that going for y'all, and then I'll show you what I'm working with. I mean, lug nuts shouldn't be on that tight. 80 pounds, 90 pounds. You can do it one hand, which here I'm doing it one hand. I mean, people usually torque the hell out of them as hard as they can, but really, some lug nuts require tools, and those tools will break when you try to loosen the lug nut. Give it a half spin. Here I'm using just the breaker bar. I mean, you can use whatever you want, the tire tool. All right. And I'm using a, I think I paid 75 bucks for this jack, Harbor Freight special. Jack's been good to me. Just keep it out of the elements. Should last you a while. It's those aluminum jacks that they sell. I really don't think. I've seen quite a few friends. Those hydraulics start to fail, which it's hydraulics. I mean, maybe they just needed hydraulic fluid, but I've seen them fail a lot. Metal ones, beat the hell out of them. Just keep trucking. Same thing with jack stands, 3-ton. Nothing too fancy. I mean, but here I'm gonna do the front axle first. Do the front axle first, and then move on to the rear. But yeah, the brakes, it was gonna be time. But I'm gonna pop these wheels off and then show you what we're gonna be working with. You're gonna need a Phillips screwdriver. On some cases, an impact to get them off, because sometimes these things get rusted on. And if you try using a regular screwdriver, you'll just strip it all out. Or you can get a hammer, put a screwdriver in there, and bang on the handle inward to kind of shock the threads a little bit and break them loose. But this one, let's see. Oh yeah, this one's real nice. Just comes right off. Okay, I'm gonna zip through it with the impact. And this one doesn't have one in there. It actually has crap in it. But you're just gonna be taking off the caliper, because you're gonna pop this guy off. I already got the screw off. You're gonna take off this guy here to give yourself some room to move the caliper over, which holds the line. And then the caliper bracket is held on with the 17 millimeter. And no, actually scratch that. You are gonna have to take off this part, which has the brake pads in it. It looks like it's a 12. It's also a 12. 12, 17, and of course the 19 for the lug nuts. And Jackson's are on. Parking brake is on as well, but I'm on a pretty level surface here, so I'm not gonna roll. It's not gonna roll. So yeah, we'll start taking off. Take this guy off first so we can expose the pads, and then next we'll take off the bracket for the line, and then we'll take off the bracket, take the brake caliper out of the way, and then remove this guy, and then reverse repeat, you know. But since we are not opening up the line, we're not removing the caliper off of the line, we do not need to bleed it. On this vehicle, the braking's fine, so you don't really need to bleed the brake unless you're having braking a little too spongy, or not like I said, not responding fast enough. Maybe might have error. But then again, you're supposed to bleed it every now and then, so many thousands of miles, by adding new fluid into the system and bleeding all the old stuff out. I mean, it's either you can do it on your own or pay somebody to do it. But I mean, if you learn how to do it on your own, save yourself money. So yeah, let's start getting this thing taken apart. I'm gonna be using a regular 3/8 ratchet. Rule of thumb: take off a bolt, put it back in where you got it from. In this case, we're only going to be working with 3 bolts, so put it back in this guy so you have no chance of losing it. Just rule of thumb, or I don't even know if it's a rule, but that's what I usually do. Oh, and that's something I failed to mention. You are going to need a C-clamp to push the how you say it, the piston back in, caliper piston. But I'll get this taken off, and then, well, you know what? We'll just ride it out, because I'm only going to be doing one front and one rear. Because I mean, if you've seen it once. Okay, we got 2 bolts off, and this usually just pops off. You get like a pry bar or maybe a hammer, claw hammer, straight claw, and just kind of pop it out. And we're off. Okay. Now the C-clamp is to push the cup back in, and a lot of times, do not let them hang like this. I'm doing this for demonstrational purposes. Do not let them hang like this, because sometimes you can stretch out the fitting or put a kink in it. So what I like to do is find something like this and kind of just drape it over it, just like that. There's no stress on the line, and you don't have no chance of damaging the line, and then you're gonna get yourself and some more work. Now we're going to remove the bracket, which is 17 millimeter. It could be 8 point, 12 point, or 6 point, 12 point. Both will work. Got 2 of them. Now, they're not on that tight. I mean, they're on tight, but I mean, like you saw, I had to beat them. I beat those suckers, so. I would set this up on a tripod, but it got damaged. Time to order more. Order another one. Okay, now once you got it loose, you can actually just comes right off. And then the brake pads are still on. I mean, they weren't really that bad, but they're eventually going to need some work. But I'm always the type of person who likes to upgrade rather than replace. So yeah, after you got that off, this guy should just come right off. Nice little wiggle. 2 hands, because this is real heavy. Alrighty, big boy. All right, I'm gonna bring in the new stuff. Swap that out. New one, old one. Brakes weren't even, they weren't in too bad of a shape, but like I said, I'd rather upgrade than just replace with stocks. But of course, this one says front driver's side. Honestly, really doesn't matter. Before you install these, you gotta clean the rust protection layer off of it. Yeah, there's a layer on it that keeps it from rusting. So get yourself some alcohol, which I got a big old can of it. Be generous and give it a good wipe down, because you don't want that stuff clogging up your brake pads. On anything that is stuff like this, brakes, flywheels, pressure plates, always want to give it or you can use brake clean, or something with an alcohol, or some yeah, something that breaks down oil. Now when you install these, make sure you get the pattern, these bolt holes, or the screw holes onto these threads. In this case, it's Wait a minute, it does matter. No, it doesn't. No. Let's see. This one in the kit said it was front driver, but really it doesn't matter. They should have just said front, because really it doesn't matter what side it's on. The bolt, the screw, the Phillips head screws both mount up. What am I doing? Okay. Boy, that looks nice. That shit is hot, boy. All right. Now the C-clamp I mentioned earlier, it's gonna be for this guy. You're gonna want to put it in there. You're gonna want to put it in there and push that. Push this cup back in to where it's flush. If not, you're never gonna be able to get the brake pad in there. So let me get set up and I'll show you. All right, what you need to do is put your used brake pad up along the piston, and when you got it set up, you just start tightening away. And look, pay attention to the little cup in there. When you tighten, and start collapsing on it, or collapses and being pushed in. You want to just go up until it's flush. Yeah, all good. Now it's flat. It's flat, nice. Now there won't be any obstruction when you put the new pads. So the reason you need to do that is because the old pads are smaller than the new pads, are thicker, and here it's left at it's pushed out more because the pads are smaller. So when you try to shove in the new pads, it thinks those suckers are too damn big, because I mean it's used to being this stuff being compressed smaller, or this piston being out more. But now, since the brake pads are brand new, the piston's going to be not as pushed out as I hope I'm explaining this correctly to y'all so y'all can understand it. But basically, you need more room. All right. So next, remount the caliper. Bracket. Slides in back there. Throw in a few bolts. Alright, another very important step is clean these slide parts for the brakes. I already cleaned mine. Same thing, alcohol, you can use brake clean, but I use the alcohol and blue rag. And then all these contact points, you need to put some brake lubricant. It's good for the caliper slides. I mean, you could put some inside this little caliper slide, but in my case they slide pretty good. Right. They're pretty good in my book. So yeah, but I will show y'all that step here in a minute. When first you gotta kind of pull them out. See, pull this, you just pull it completely out, and then this little rubber comes over it, and then you pull it out. In this case, it is a little dirty. It is a little dirty, but that's just lubricant in there. And it's just a dust boot. But yeah, you're gonna clean this off, brake clean, and give it a good wipe. Alright, you just need to apply a little bit of lube to that, a little bit of lube to the shaft of this guy. Remember how you pulled it out, and then just pop back in. Make sure this thing really pops in and out nice. And this guy's got a little plate popping out, which is good because you want it to open up. You want it to open up when you're not pushing the brakes. Now, This guy, the one with the little nub, goes to the outside. I mean, it goes to the back. And they just slide in these little grooves. Let me get another one. Where you are? Another one. Okay. You see these little nubbies, these little square pieces? It just goes in. Remember, round side, outside. Square side, inside. But round side follows the rotor, and they just fit in its home right there. And then same thing on top. Might have to give it a little, yeah, there it is. And then pop it in, and we're all done, Papa. You just got to get this guy, put it back on, slide right over the brake pads, and if you pop your what did I say? If you pop your piston back in, it should just slide right in, which it is. Alrighty. Pop those suckers back in. Your two bolts you popped out, took out earlier, put them back in, and essentially you're done. Besides putting this, tightening this up, these two bolts. Now these aren't really. I can't give you the number of torque off the top of my head, but I'll put it in there. But usually it's really not that tight. It's like 25 to 30 pounds just on these guys. I mean, this is what you want to see when it's got that a little bit of play there. Brake pads, rotors, bracket. You want it, I mean, tight, but at the same time you want it to move a little. But this job, for someone who had never done one, all the right parts take a little while. But somebody who's done it a few times and doesn't run into any problems, because I'm surprised I didn't run into any problems. Basically, that's a brake job. Put your wheel back on. Let's admire this beautiful rotor from afar. Oh boy, that's nice. Now I just got to do the other side, and then do one of the rears, which the rears are a little bit different, but it's just because it has a brake cable, handbrake cable. Well, in this case, it's a foot brake. But on that case, you're gonna have to chock the front if you're raising just the back. Cause, well, not really. Cause I'd recommend chocking the tires so it won't move over, stress out the tranny when it's on a lean. I don't like to park and lean my vehicle on the parking brake. But we'll be putting jack stands on the rear end. And yeah, let me finish this other side. We'll get back to it. Start the back. These guys are looking pretty spiffy. I mean, compared to stock, they look really nice, and they're probably gonna perform a whole lot nicer. Same as before. You take off the rim, jack it up, jack stands, chock the front wheel if you're on an unleveled surface. Remove these Phillips tipped screws from the rotor. Best thing I use, like before, is a number 3 Phillips tip on an impact screwdriver. Chances it's on too tight, these were loose. Remove the the caliper bracket. It's a 12, 14 millimeter, 12 and a 14, yeah. And then I'll show you how to get this thing off, because this thing could be a pain. All right, let me get these off and then I'll update you. Okay, now that I got the caliper bracket and caliper, which I hung up here on the spring, this guy usually is wedged on there pretty good. So what I read on the Google machine, so they put 8 millimeter by 1.25, I believe, in these two holes, and it kind of is like a steering wheel puller or a pulley puller. It pushes the bolt pushes up against the inside of these things and pulls it off. So what I did, I don't have those type of bolts, so what I did, it looks kind of, I mean, it could be kind of considered kind of hood rat, but I use a screwdriver. Well, first you got to hit it. I hit it with the sledgehammer. Sledgehammer a piece of wood, trying to break it loose. All that rust coming off. Okay, now that it's loose, put your screwdriver on this side. We'll find that spot and just kind of pry back and forth. See that? Because that sucker is on there. Now when I shoved the screwdriver in there, I shoved it in through this plate and behind this metal. I don't know if you can see that with the... Yeah, there's a ring around here. This guy goes all the way around. You see it better in the sun. You put your screwdriver there. You don't put it on, well, you can't really see, but if you push it on the brakes, you'll feel it. It's kind of loose, but here, nice. Yeah, that's how you get the rotor off. Or get your bolts 8.8 millimeter, which when you screw them in on this with the threads, it goes on the back spindle here. It hits this part. See these little circles, and it kind of pries it off. But you got to do that evenly. I don't have that, so call me old-fashioned or hood rat. I did it that way. It worked. I mean, I didn't damage anything, so we're good. All right, so now we're gonna clean all this off. I got alcohol. Gonna give it a good wipe. Could use brake cleaner. I'm using alcohol. Slap the new rotor on there. Should be golden. Whoa, almost lost you. Alright, and put these back on. You're going to match up these two bolt holes with what you got on the rotor with the beveled ones, which are, let me see. You'll have to slap it in with some force. Now, you got the holes there for the, where are they at? No. Really, bro? Now, if you go too tight with an impact, you will break your tip. Make sure to clean off your rotor with some anti-oil, the degreaser, because some of these rotors have anti-rust coating, which this one looks a little weird because it kind of took it off a little, and I don't really mind here. Now this little guy, this plug, you have to take it off of the old rotor, which is right there. easier to do it when the rotor's off, because you just push it right there with either an extension or a screwdriver. I actually did it with the 14mm wrench that I got, because that covers up your emergency brake components, inspection cover, I guess that's what it's called. It's in. Now I'm not changing the e-brake because they were still good. Plus, you really don't use them much, only when you park, and I seem to use them a lot, but I'm not going around corners skidding. It's a family car. Put your brake calipers on, same as the fronts, lube everything up, and should be done. I mean, not much to it, but on this one here, on the bottom bracket bolt, you cannot get I mean, you probably can get a smaller. I'm using 1/2-inch drive, probably use a 3/8 get fit back there, but I wasn't able to do it, so I used a 14mm wrench. Worked okay, but I'm gonna get everything back together and show you the finished product. Oh yeah, already done. Got the new Driven Slide Johnnies in there, all 4s. And I know earlier in the last video, I mean not the last video, the last clip, when I did the fronts, it does matter what side you put them on the sticker, because it has the the rotor, the drill, the slotted, I guess. It's supposed to go back. I had it on forward, and it's, I guess, like a blade, fan blade. But yeah, I had to swap that rotor onto. I had to swap rotors, really, because I just did it. I mean, I saw passenger side or driver side, and I put it on the passenger side. So it fits, but it's really the cross pattern, which, whatever. You live and you learn, right? You learn by messing things up. Especially when you're self-made, I mean self-taught. Self-made, easy guy. So I definitely need to get an upgraded jack, because that one, it was pushing the limits of what this thing can lift. I mean, the height, really, as far as to start shimming it. Yeah, just gotta do some cleanup. But I mean, once you've done one brakes, they're pretty much all the same. Besides, this one was, they had the piston where you can compress with this tool. There's some where you gotta spin. You gotta spin it so it can compress, but this one's fairly simple. I already did this one over here. I didn't want to bore you guys by doing two. I mean, this one I did earlier. That's where I learned how to do it, on this side. But yeah, if this video helped you out anyway, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, that little bell, let you know when I upload. I mean, I upload from bunch of different cars. It's never really one car. Like, I mean, most of the cars I've been working on are either I own them or friends, family. But yeah, thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Gilbert with Ratchet Rice Rockets. See you on the next one.